Welcome to The Human Machine, an engineer's guide to the major muscle groups. In this video, we will be deconstructing the body's primary actuators from a biomechanical perspective.
We now transition from microscopic theory to macroscopic function. Moving beyond the microscopic structure, we will focus on the major muscles responsible for large-scale movements. Our key objectives are to identify the location of each major muscle group, understand the primary movements they create, such as walking, lifting, and breathing, and finally, to analyze the muscular system from a distinct engineering perspective.
Let's take a systematic tour of the body's actuators. In applied anatomy, we classify muscles into 4 primary groups. This classification is crucial for biomedical engineering as it helps us understand exactly where forces are generated for specific movements. These 4 distinct regions are, first, the head and neck, second, the trunk, comprising the thorax and abdomen, third, the upper limbs, and fourth, the lower limbs. We begin our tour with Part 1, the head and neck. Functionally, this region serves as the control center and the primary interface for the human machine. In this region, we identify key muscles responsible for expression, mastication, and positioning. First, the frontalis raises the eyebrows and drives facial expressions on the forehead. Second, the orbicularis oculi controls the mechanism for opening and closing the eyelids. And third, the masseter, considered the body's strongest muscle, powers the mechanical action of chewing. Next, we examine the Sternocleidomastoid, or SCM, which acts as a multi-axis actuator. Biologically, this muscle is responsible for flexing and rotating the head. From an engineering perspective, the SCM functions like a robotic actuator, providing precise, coordinated control over both the position and orientation of the head relative to the torso. Moving on to Part 2, the trunk. This region acts as the central chassis and powerhouse of the human machine. Focusing on the anterior trunk, we find the machinery for respiration and core strength. The pectoralis major functions to adduct the arm and bring it forward. Deep between the ribs, the intercostal muscles are active with every breath, driving respiratory movements. Lower down, the rectus abdominis, commonly known as the abs, flexes the trunk and provides crucial support for internal organs. Finally, the obliques enable trunk rotation and lateral flexion. Now we look at the posterior trunk, the engine for pulling. Here, the latissimus dorsi takes center stage. Anatomically, it functions to pull the arm backward and downward. In practical terms, this muscle acts as the primary mover when you pull something down from above, providing the force necessary for actions like a pull-up. We now move to Part 3, the upper limbs. These structures function as the body's primary manipulators. Here we observe the principle of opposition in the upper arm actuators. The deltoid serves as the prime mover for lifting the arm at the shoulder. Moving down, the biceps brachii flexes the elbow joint. It acts alongside the brachialis, which is actually the strongest pure flexor of the elbow. In direct opposition, the triceps brachii extends the joint. This relationship represents an antagonistic pair. For controlled movement, when one contracts, the other must relax, a principle fundamental to all joint control. Finally, we arrive at Part 4, the lower limbs. This region functions as the body's primary propulsion system. Powering locomotion requires the robust muscles of the hip and thigh. First is the gluteus maximus, the body's largest muscle. It is essential for heavy lifting tasks like standing up, climbing stairs, and maintaining an upright posture. Moving to the front of the thigh, The quadriceps femoris is a group of 4 muscles that extends the knee, making it vital for walking, running, and standing. Opposing them on the back of the thigh are the hamstrings, a group responsible for flexing the knee. Together, the quadriceps and hamstrings form a critical antagonistic pair, controlling the primary motion required for gait. To fine-tune gait, we look to the lower leg. The gastrocnemius and soleus combine to form the calf. They are responsible for plantar flexion, pointing the toes down, which provides the essential push-off for walking and running. Opposing them on the shin is the tibialis anterior. This muscle is responsible for dorsiflexion, the action of lifting the foot up. We conclude with the blueprint for movement and the resulting engineering takeaways. The fundamental rule is that no muscle acts in isolation. All movements result from the coordinated action of muscle groups. This involves the prime mover, or agonist, producing the movement, the antagonist, which opposes it, and synergists, which assist. This understanding presents us with specific engineering challenges. How do we accurately model the force vectors of the deltoid for shoulder prosthetics? How does the antagonistic balance between the hamstrings and quadriceps inform control algorithms for a robotic knee? And finally, which respiratory muscles, such as the intercostals, are most critical to support with a mechanical ventilator?